It's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking NFL action. Texans at Bears. Christmas is right around the corner, and we've got a promo code. The code is ELF, ELF, for 20% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net. The Texans are favored in this one, -1.5. The total is 45.5. The Texans are 4-8 straight up and against the number. The Bears are 5-7 straight up and against the number. And both of these teams are coming off last-minute meltdowns when it comes to their games. Last week, the Texans had a potential game-winning drive lined up, and then they fumbled the snap on 2nd and goal, I think. And then you had Mitch Trubisky fumbling from about the 7-yard line and set up the go-ahead touchdown for the Lions. It looked like the Bears had that game in the bag, but not so fast. We've got Craig Trapp joining us to talk about these two teams that are a little frustrating. Craig, what do you got for us on this one?
It's like if you're a Bears fan, it seems like you haven't had a franchise quarterback since, okay, maybe not in your lifetime if say you're 30 and under, and that's been a problem. And in a quarterback-driven league, I think it continues to rear its head for the Chicago Bears. I mean, Mitch Trubisky, he doesn't scare you if you're a defense. And I think this one it jumps off the screen here is that you have Mitch Trubisky versus Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is just clearly heads and shoulders above him, and that's just what it comes down to in this game for me. I think the Houston Texans at -1.5 is a gift. Yes, if it was truly a home field where you had fans, then maybe you give the Bears a chance as a home underdog. But to me, no fans or very little fans and all these, you just throw the home field out. And I like this Houston Texans -1.5, Chelsea. I just think Deshaun Watson and company are the better team. And even without Fuller, I still think this Houston Texans offense is way more explosive than the Bears.
Man, I tell you, Deshaun Watson has been doing it all, and I think the buzz has been about his reaction after that loss, how depressed he looked on the sidelines or on the field after they lost. And he's a guy that likes to win. Obviously, he came from Clemson. He's used to winning, and it's not been the case with the Texans. And things just keep getting thrown at him. Will Fuller, his best receiver, who earlier in the season he said, my life would be hell if Will Fuller was traded. And then Will Fuller gets suspended. So what do you think about that? But I think you can't play the Bears here. I played the Bears last week, and I got bit for it. And you know what? Mitch Trubisky actually had a much better game. If you cancel out that late fumble, he was much better when it comes to the offense. They actually scored some points, which I think the over is worth a look in this one as well. But I do like the Texans -1.5. I think that's the safer play. But I think both of these offenses put up some points as well. The Bears defense has not been nearly as good as advertised. They even had Keem Hicks and Khalil Mack back last game, and Matt Stafford still threw for almost 400 yards against that defense. So I think the over and the Texans in this one.
I can't see the over not hitting here. Houston's defense hasn't been a whole lot better. And like you said, Chicago, first half of the year, Chicago's defense was the key. You know, they were keeping them in games, but now we just haven't seen that. That defense is just not around right now. And I think the Houston Texans, even minus Will Fuller, I mean, it's too bad for Watson because in the offseason, let's also remember they traded away his number one, really, in DeAndre Hopkins. And now you don't have him, you don't have Fuller, and you know, he's in a contract year, so probably will be released, I'm guessing, after this, or not re-signed there. So, I mean, poor Watson, he's not going to have hardly any weapons, but he's one of those guys that can scramble around and make plays with his feet and keep plays alive. I think Houston does enough here to get the win. And also, I agree with you. I think the over is pretty solid play as well, but a little stronger on the Houston Texans minus the 1.5 here.
Well, and plus the Texans kept it close with a pretty solid Colts team. They weren't keeping it close with the Lions. They were keeping it close with a really solid Colts team with a really good defense.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Houston has played a really tough schedule this year and played a lot of close games. So when you look at it, I mean, if they, you know, a couple bounces here or there, and Houston could be 6-6 and still in, you know, theoretically in the wild card talk. But you know, that just happens in the NFL. It really comes down to winning close games, and seems like everything's within one score late. Who do you trust, your Trubisky or Watson? It's pretty much a no-brainer to me. I'm going to take the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson in that case.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our NFL talk here on Picks and Parlays. Great stuff from Craig Trapp. As always, thanks for joining us, Craig.